Hello, 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 ladies. We are here. You have been waiting for us to have something for you, and we do. We have something for you. This is the first episode of the Love You to Life podcast, and we are so excited to have you here. So, welcome to our very first episode. If you're new to us, I'm just inviting you in like we like I already know us. You don't. Maybe you don't
No,
know.
no.
Okay. Maybe you don't know us. But if you don't know us, just so you know, we're two sisters, two coaches, and two grown women, like who have had full lives. We are, I mean, I would call us like former box checkers, former go-to girls, who've done so many of the right things, who got to a place in life where we're like, you know what? This can't be it. And we decided to make some changes. And we are now inviting you to do the same. So we want to welcome you in. I am Kathleen Day. If this is your first time meeting me, hey, friend. And this is.
I'm Elizabeth White. Hi, sister.
So we are so excited to bring this around. And so if you're new to our world, you should know this. First and foremost, we are blood sisters. Okay. So we're not just sisters, we blood sisters. But we had something called the Love You to Life Club back during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really cannot describe to you how much we loved the Love You to Life Club and all of our Love You to Lifers. We was a group coaching program. It started right before the pandemic hit, and it just so we were able to stay connected during a time when so many people felt disconnected. And during that time, we had ladies in our club who were getting promotions, getting jobs, getting advanced certifications, leveling up their health, just so many great things. And so we saw like the power of being intentional about loving your life and having a collaborative of women who did the same. But lives. And so that format didn't quite work for us as we kind
We
of
did it for
transitioned.
2 years, though. We did it for like
We
2 years.
did it.
Yeah.
But since then, I've had one child graduate from college, one child graduate from high school. We got a new child on that side of the table. Matter of fact, and this is probably this Lucky the Life was pre-Rocky too.
Yeah, it was before Rocky. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a new nephew dog and a and
And
a new niece. It's like a whole bunch of things have changed, but we realize like we miss y'all and y'all probably miss us. And we also think that there's just not enough people having this conversation about how successful grown women can enjoy their lives. And so that's why we're here today.
one of the things I want to include on there is the reason why we call it the Love You to Life, which was the club, the Love You Life Club, the Love You Life podcast. And that's because so many times people say, "Girl, I love you to death." And honestly, that's really how you feel. You feel like love with that person in that relationship is going to kill you
But
because being with that person, comes with so much weight or expectation or challenge. But you feel loyal because it's family or because it's a longtime friend or whatever. And we just knew that so many people was like, "Girl, I love you to death," but you really felt like you was gonna die staying in a relationship with these people because it wasn't reciprocal, or because your boundaries weren't good, or because the expectation was just too heavy. So we wanted to pour into other women, other people, only life. Like we wanted
period.
people to leave from our presence feeling alive, like they had been poured into, and not that they had been drained, which is what so many other relationships can do.
Period. And when we had the Love You Life Club, was a
Yeah.
couple times a month.
Yeah.
We had our Facebook group, which was easily accessible every single day. But our calls sometimes could go like we,
2 hours,
planned it for an hour,
three
but
hours.
sometimes they would just keep going. So
Yeah.
our goal with the podcast is that we're going to come a couple times per month and we will drop some gems on you, and it'll be something that fits into your life, the rhythm of your life, so that you can consistently be leveling up in every area of your life. So we know that you are grown women. You have full lives. You have families that you love, that you want to care for. You have financial goals that you want to meet. You have personal goals that you want to, achieve. And so we're going to talk about all that here on the podcast. And so today
Oh
we
boy.
topic for you that's a perfect first topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about why this is our first topic in a second. But the topic for today is learning how to live.
LIVE.
And I'm going to tell you, first of all, why we say that. Because this is a phrase that the phrase
Where
that we
did it
use
come
is,
from? Where did it come from?
I think it came from mama, honestly.
Kind of do too. I'm more
Where like
grandma.
we say this at least once a week, which is like, people don't know how to live. People do not know how to live. And usually that phrase is like somebody's doing something that's very dumb, right? Like they're doing something because they're not being intentional with their choices, or they're living for somebody else, or they're not being um like focused on their own desires or whatever. Like, and we say like people just don't know how to live. They just like they're going through the motions, they're checking the boxes, but they're not like really living. So we don't want that to be y'all. So
Nope, we don't.
as we are learning how to live, which is a continual process, right? Like we're like human beings who are always evolving. We're always changing. Your life may change. Like I said, in the last, 5 years, 6 years, we've gone through a pandemic. We've had births. We've had, unfortunately, deaths. We've had all kinds of different things. And so you are adjusting to life because it's not like a static thing, but you really do have to be intentional about learning how to live. And so that's what we're really talking about today. So, if you are a person who has reached a stage where you're like, um I'm just not happy with my life, and just we look fresh, because black don't crack. But when you're in a perimenopausal life, a lot of people talk about like around this time people start to really be unhappy, and they are, like marriages sometimes have trouble, families being discord or what have you, because you're really unhappy. So whatever the reason why you turned on this podcast today, we're going to give you something that will apply to your life and help you learn how to live it and learn how to love it. Okay?
Yeah, and one of the things I want to include there is like, when we're talking about the perimenopausal woman, menopausal woman, and the fact that she is making changes, I think it's because of all the changes she hasn't made along the way.
Mm,
It's now that she's just decided she can no longer, at this point in her life, tolerate the things that she's been accepting. When what we want people to do instead is to know much earlier what they
yes.
can and cannot live with, and to communicate that to the people that they love and care for. Because it's not like people are just so hormonal that they just can't make it, that they just um,
Right.
don't think clearly. It's not that. It's really that it's just this fullness. Like I'm just full to the top of living like this, and now I actually have the courage or the motivation or the strength to be able to say that something's got to change.
Yeah. There's this girl. So look, there's a girl on TikTok. A lady on TikTok, a young woman on TikTok, who has created what she called the We Do Not Care Club.
Right.
And
Her, she's funny.
I think she is. It's hilarious. First of all, if you haven't found her, I really have no idea what her actual name is, but it's
Yeah.
hilarious because she talks about all the things that you got. Like you've reached a point in your life where you're like, I no longer care about this. I no longer care about that. I no longer care about this. And it's just like little things that when you might have been younger that were like were super important to you. That you were like, oh, I have to do this, or I have to do that. That you get to a point where you're like, no, that no longer matters. But the flip side of that is what we're talking about, which is like, oh, I super duper care about this.
Mm.
This is exceptionally important to me. This is exactly what I want. And this is the only thing I'm going to accept. And that's what it's like when you learn how to live. And chances are you are successfully doing a lot of things in your life right now. But the actual like quality of your life, that's something that has to be like curated. It doesn't happen automatically, and it doesn't happen by default, because there's at least 1,000 different things in the course of your day that I guarantee you are working against you having your perfect life, right? Because other people want what they want from you. They have needs, they have expectations, what have you. So if you're not the person who's being intentional about making sure that you get what you want, you're probably not gonna get it. So we want you to be really focused on that. And for a lot of us, I think the idea of like performing and doing the right things and doing what other people want us to do has been the priority in the past. And now we can really focus on what is it that I actually want, and what is it that's most important to me. And I was trying to think about like when that happened for me. Maybe like when was the first time you had that moment where you were like, you know what? No, I'm not anymore. And I'm talking about when that was for me, and I really not sure exactly when it happened, but it might have been like a gradual thing. But maybe you have like a moment where it's like, this is when I knew for sure. Oh no, I'm done. I'm done. Because the only thing
You
I
know
can really
what?
think about is like when I got divorced. But maybe I have a better
That,
story.
and that's a real moment, right? And probably a lot of other people can relate to that. But I think one of the it's I guess the thing that I would say is number one, that the way that I think we're defining perfection is not the absence of a challenge. I think we're talking about just being able to love your life every day. Like being able to really enjoy the life that you have, even in the presence of some adverse conditions that are going to show up.
Absolutely.
So I would say with then that moment has happened for me several times. Because here's one thing I really want us to build on our conversations moving forward that we include is like there's layers to this. Like, this is
Mm,
not, this is a journey and you don't ever stop. So you might do really, really well with overcoming one thing or working on one thing, but then and master that thing. But then
yes.
there's another layer to that thing. And then as other situations come, you kind of pull off the band-aid again or see the other layer of it. So I think I've had that moment several times. One of the ones that happened to me was when I was tipping the scales I think I was like 311 pounds one time, like 311. And I was pre-diabetic and I didn't feel good and they was putting me on metformin, and if anybody's taking metformin, I didn't feel good.
Trash.
Metformin. Like, I didn't feel good. And I realized that I was taking care of a lot of things for other people, but I was not taking care of me. And I also realized that I had some limiting beliefs in there about who I could be. Like, I didn't really think I could achieve a lower weight. I didn't think it was something to do. I didn't think that exercising was important. So I think it's happened a couple times, but one of them for sure was like that awakening of, girl, you are so overweight and you don't feel well, and you can keep going this way if you want to, but you're not going to enjoy your life. And so
Mm.
then once I started to work on that, that's when I started uncovering more and more about who I am and what was important to me and what I truly believe versus the way I had lived according to what other people might have said to me or what other people believed for me. So it's happened many times, but that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, because I really think your life is talking to you, right? Like there's these little signs, and it could be one of two things. It could be like a glimpse of something better than what you're currently having, like this moment of like, oh, that would be really nice. And I did, and I had a moment like that, and it honestly was probably a few years before I got divorced. So it's probably been at this point maybe like 10 years or something. But it was like the first moment where I felt peace. And I didn't realize I wasn't feeling peace. I was at Kind of Prairie with the kids. I've told the story in probably different presentations and stuff, but I was at Kind of Prairie with the kids, and they have a giant tree house at Kind of Prairie. And I never had no tree house, but I felt like, okay, let's go in the treehouse. We're gonna do, this is who I am now. I'm a mom who climbs in the treehouse. And so offside this treehouse, there was like this lookout, and it's in Fishers, so it's kind of it's a smaller town, but it's still a city. And but when you walk out on this lookout, it's like you are transported into the quietest, like, forest experience ever. It's just trees and it's just quiet. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, this is peace. And what I realized in that moment is my life didn't have peace in it. And so that experience, that, like, and it was, I swear it was maybe like 3 minutes of me standing there, maybe that, but I got this truly intimate experience with what it would feel like for my body, my brain, my
Mm,
mind,
mm,
everything to truly experience peace. And so when you go back to your house and your marriage is in shambles and you're like, this is not peace, but
girl.
I know peace exists.
Mm,
It's like this, so you have this, so you might be having these like moments of where you get a glimpse of what it could be, Or it could be those moments where it's like, oh, this is rock bottom. So it could be either end of the spectrum where you have this moment, but either way, you just know that something better has to be available to you. And I'm here to tell you that it is. It's available
And
to you.
and the other thing is sometimes people might not know that something better is available, but they still think that something has to change.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And so I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if we can conceptualize better depending on how low that you are. But it's just like
Mhm.
something needs to be different, you know?
Yeah, I definitely had that moment where it's like, I don't want to live like this
Exactly.
anymore. Right?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know what, like, I don't know if my divorce is going to make things better per se. I don't know if it's going to be easy, but I know that it can't be as bad as this situation. And so, if you're having those moments, I want to encourage you that a divorce may not be necessary.
Right.
It may not be necessary for you to have like your eat, pray, love moment where you run away. But it is possible for you to make really small, sometimes really small, intentional movements in a direction that feels good. And that's what it's like when you're learning how to live. And part of that learning process is unlearning, right?
Mm.
It's unlearning those things
Woo.
that you have internalized as like, this is just what it is. And I probably have gone through that. Like, so you say, like, I've been a big girl all my life. I'm just big boned. Like, but you like unlearning that, oh, well, maybe I could be smaller than I am, or maybe I could eat a little differently. I remember when I was like started running, and it wasn't like I was a runner, but I would just be walking the trail, and I'd be like, "Oh, am I a runner?" And I'm just like, "Let me run for
I don't
and
know if
not
you
even
ever
like a
told me
minute
this
or two.
before. I don't know
It
if you
might
ever
be
told
like
me
a
this.
minute or two, but it was like unlearning this idea that this is not who I am. And so I would really encourage you, like, if you're starting to have that inkling that something needs to change, one of the first steps can be, what have I accepted as facts
Yeah.
that's really just something that I believed.
And so that takes me back to not feeling protected. Like there are some times when we are not really paying attention to what's going on with our kids. And
Mhm.
I remember being in the 6th grade and being in private school, my mom and daddy paying for this. And I was in gym and I was supposed to be like jumping and moving. And I'm a well endowed woman around my boobs. And the boys started laughing because my boobs were bouncing. And my teacher was talking to the boys and he started laughing too. And so from that moment on, I decided, well, I'm not going to move. Like, why would I jump? Why would I
Mhm.
run? Why would I participate in these sports? At that time, we probably weren't having conversations about the best sports bras or anything like that. It wasn't something you would do. And so I really truly believed from that moment onward, I can't move like that. So I remember being in high school and being good at volleyball, but not wanting to go out for the volleyball team because I didn't want to wear the little shorts, thinking my thighs were too big because I was a shapely kid. Right.
Right.
But then you just keep building on top of that, like this belief that I couldn't move like that. I couldn't exercise. So the first time as an adult that I actually was running, I was like, girl, you can run, girl. You can run. And
Right.
and so what I have done is research great sports bras. And if I
Mhm.
need to wear more than one to make sure that I feel like I'm not bouncing too much, that's what I would do. But I didn't know that. I had this bad experience. I made a belief about it and I behaved according to that belief for a very long time in my life until I was willing to challenge it. And then once I challenged it, then there was nothing that I couldn't do. I just removed the limitations off myself. But I was with adults and that adult did not protect me. He was laughing too.
And that really goes back to the idea of like the stories that we tell.
Yeah.
Sometimes the stories that we tell ourselves do not serve us. And that's one of the things that I definitely have gone through with probably at some point each of my kids as we're having these different conversations. As they get, more mature, and more capable of handling more complex conversations, is during their childhood, a lot of times we take in information as a child. And so we
Right.
process it as a child. And
Right.
so if you still believe in something that happened to you when you were 5 or 6 years old in your 35, 45, 55 years of age,
Mhm.
as if that has to be your reality, it's some unlearning that needs to occur. Just, getting curious. Like, where did this come from? Oh, I can't do that. Well, why? Where did that come from? Where did that idea come from? I can't do this. Well, who said it? you know,
And,
and
and so you right there, we got to put a pin right there because what that means is that you have to increase your own self-awareness.
mm,
So when you're talking about when you're telling this story about the 3 minutes at the treehouse, like I want you to pay attention to the fact that there are some people who would not have paid attention to that 3 minutes
right,
in the
right,
treehouse. So one of the things that we're saying about your ability to love your life and knowing how to live is that you have to improve your own self-awareness.
right,
Because you have to be able to pause to ask yourself some questions so that you can decide if this is the way you want to go or not. So, like, it's a huge deal that you are paying attention to what's going on so much so that you can tell the difference between peace and not peace, right? But a lot of us are not taking that kind of time on a daily basis to be able to say that something does or does not work for us.
right.
That's huge.
Which is why we say people don't know how to live.
Yeah.
You spend so much like I think about this especially for women who are so busy,
Yeah.
who are running from place to place, who and I absolutely understand how it happens because I get it. You're taking your kids, you're going to work, you're doing all these different things. I work from home, but on those days when I have to like go on site somewhere, I say it every time like, how do people do this every day? And I know that I did it for years. I did it for years, but it's just like, man, it is a lot to spend 45 minutes on the highway in traffic and all these different things. And so you don't have those just pockets of time where you really are reflecting. That's part of why we wanted to bring the podcast because we want you to have a space, right? If you put on the podcast for 30 or 40 minutes while you're in the car, that might be your only time during the whole day where you can kind of do that reflection, where you can have that moment to kind of get curious about your own life because everybody's asking you for what they need. We already
Mm,
know.
and
They're
not gonna
asking
stop.
you for what they need. They asking you for what they want. I just got a text message a second ago. My daughter asked me what's for dinner. Like they're always going to ask you for what you want and what you need, but you're not having that time to ask yourself what do you want or what do you need. And that's what it means when you are learning how to live. Is you're really getting curious about what it is that you actually want. What does that look like? What is important? And so we have a little acronym for you because we like to give you a little something to anchor you. And so we want to invite you as you listen to the podcast to become a lifer. That's what we always called our club members was Love You to Lifer. So we have an acronym that's a lifer acronym. And so the L stands for we want you to learn what matters. And I'm not talking about what matters to everybody else. I'm talking about what matters to you. Okay. Unlearn the lies. Relearn. And I really love this point. Relearn the truth. Because I believe that you're born with
Ooh.
the truth in you,
I'm
right?
putting that on the shirt.
I believe you know who you are, what
Right,
you want, what
right.
your purpose is, what your values are, what your belief. You know that it's in there. It's not gone. It might be covered up with a lot of stuff, but I want you to like relearn and reconnect to what really matters because this is what allows you to get a vision for your life. When you start to get clear on that, it makes it easier for you to make a decision. A lot of times right now, we can't make choices to move things because we don't even know what we want. We spend so much time focused on other people that we haven't really even paid attention to what we want. I asked you what you want for dinner. You don't know, let alone when you want to retire, where you want to retire, what you want retirement to look like. You don't have a clue
It's
because
like
you've just been going with everybody else's.
that Sandra, not Sandra Bullock. What's her name?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're
Runaway
talking about. Julia
Bride.
Roberts.
Julia Roberts, Runaway Bride, Julia Roberts. Have you guys seen? I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I'll just say that she frequently dated men and took on their personalities when she dated them. The things that were interesting to them, important to them, became interesting or important to her. And so I think many of us are we're having runaway bride moments in our own lives. Maybe not to the extent that is portrayed in the movie, but still in a very big way. And one of the things you said earlier, Caroline, was like, we said we don't have the time to do these following things. And so I want to challenge our lifers to not expect to have the time, but to take the time. to make the time. Because if we're waiting on having the time, you will not have it because people always have something for you to do, an
Right.
expectation, a request that they have of you. And if you don't get clear on how you're going to spend your time, you will not have the time. And so, what we're talking about is taking your power back right now
Mm.
because your first obligation was to you. Your first obligation was to yourself. You are putting your own life to take care of yourself. And so you can't expect to have the time. You have to take the time and make the time to figure out what's important to you, to pay attention to your experiences, to ask yourself questions. That is your responsibility.
Yes. And you're right.
And you're right.
And
And
you're
you're right.
privileged. I
Yeah,
mean, like, let's just be honest about it. Like, you have the right to choose you,
right.
right? And so we the I in the acronym is intend to choose yourself. A lot of us spend a lot of our time feeling guilty for trying to choose ourselves, or feeling um selfish
Yeah.
for trying to choose ourselves. But the truth of the matter is, if you're not choosing you, who's going to choose you? and
Nobody.
and I always go back to this one, especially for moms. And I know we've had that conversation about being like having daughters, right? If you set the model that you're not supposed to choose yourself, your daughters will absolutely pick it up and run with it. So you are not just choosing you because you're selfish. You're choosing you because it's your right to do so. But also, it gives that message to the other women around you. And that's one of those things, like, as I've changed different things in my life, changing careers or what have you, one of these people always be like, "Oh, how did you do that?" I decided and I
Mm,
did it, right?
mm.
But when you make the choice that somebody else thinks they're not capable of making, you are loving them to life, right? You're loving yourself and you're showing them how to do it. And it just continues to go on and on and on. And when we do that, we create communities and families of people who actually can love us the right way. If I'm choosing me, I'm teaching you how to choose me too. I'm teaching you how to love me. If you sit up here and want to take care of yourself, well, no wonder nobody's taking care of you. You got to do it first. So intend to choose yourself.
And let's include there, I think I might have talked about this on live one day, or I think I talked about it on TikTok. So I don't have the scriptural reference right now in front of me, but I just want to include there that when you start to do this, this might be uncomfortable for some of the people in your circle.
Mm,
This might not feel great as you start to do that because the people in your circle are used to you doing what you've always done.
yeah.
Therefore, if you've never really chosen yourself, or if you've always allowed yourself to be the second or third or fourth on the list, then that's not going to necessarily be comfortable for them. So start to think about, like, and as you're going that direction, you might experience some opposition to
Mm,
that. And so I don't want anybody to think that this path that we're talking, like the journey that we're talking about, doesn't have any bumps on it, because it does have bumps. I want you to be prepared for the fact that while you go on that route, at some point you're going to really love those changes. But while you're headed there, you might encounter some challenge because what you're used to doing for other folks, they still want.
period.
They still want it. They're used to it.
Right.
So, as you intend to choose yourself, know that you might experience some opposition from people that are in your circle.
So when they say you acting brand new, say I am.
I am acting brand new. I
Thank
really am.
you.
I really
I
am
am.
acting brand new. This is new for me. This is different for me. And you can do this. And I realize it's different for you.
Hmm.
This is different for me, and I realize it's different for you, but this is the direction I'm going in now. And hopefully you're going to be able to adjust to it so that we can still stay in relationship.
Right. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like a conflict necessarily. You can say, and I love you. Right. I'm choosing me and I love you. Right. It doesn't like it sometimes when we think about like relationships and families and stuff, like we expect that everything, like I'm cutting him off. It don't always have to be that way.
No, it
Sometimes you cut people off because you haven't ever set no boundaries. You can set a boundary and not cut people off. You can say,
doesn't.
like, this is this, I can do this, but not that.
Yeah. And
In
so we
order
should
for me to do this, I'm gonna be able to do that. That kind of
right.
thing.
And so we can include also that some people are going to be happy about it or happy for you, and some people are going to go with the flow. But there's always two sides to the coin now. So I just want to make sure that we talked about the other one.
All right. So the F in our lifers is focus on whose values?
You.
Your values, right? I guarantee you, your boss wants something from you. He sees you as valuable and he wants what he wants from you, right? Your partner, they see you as valuable. They want what they want from you. Your, friends and your community, everybody has an expectation of you. You have to focus on your values. You will not feel settled in your soul if you are not living a life in alignment with your values.
Talk to the people about feeling settled in your soul.
Okay, here's the thing. There is a peace that comes from knowing that you are living what matters to you. Like we are put on this planet, we are created as individuals. We're just, if you new to us, we got girls. We believe that we were created for a purpose, right? That there is no one else on the planet that is meant to do what I'm meant to do today, what Elizabeth is meant to do today. Nobody else on the planet. So we are created for that purpose. And most of the time, when we have this feeling of being unsettled
Mm-hmm.
or uncomfortable, it is at least in part due to us being out of alignment, where we are doing something that we really don't believe in, or we are doing something that we know is not quite right, or we are doing something that we really, it just feels like there is just not the right thing to be doing. If you are out of alignment, you can't do anything to feel better. Like you can make plenty of money, and if you're out of alignment, you're never going to be happy. You're not going to have that joy. You're not going to have that peace. If you get clear about your values, then you can decide, like, oh, I want to choose this because it aligns with my values. It actually makes your life easier. Years ago, when I was working with a therapist, she had me do a values exercise. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was a card deck. And so you pick like 12 values. Then you got to go down to like 10 values. Then you got to go down to like 6 values. And it really it forces you to say, like, is this the core of who I really am?
Right.
And once you get clear with that, every decision that comes, it either lines up or it doesn't.
Right.
A lot of us are out of alignment, so we're not really sure what our values are. We're just letting everybody else tell us what we have to do. If you are a person, I'm finna step on some toes or usher somebody up to the pulpit, one of the two. If you're a person who really lives for that external validation of people telling you that you're doing a good
Oh
job,
my God, have mercy.
if that's something, if you like,
What? Why are you laughing already? You ain't even said it. What? What are you
if
laughing?
you were the kid
What?
that the teacher left to monitor the classroom when she left the classroom, okay? If that was you,
If that was
if
you,
you were the person who was in charge while she
that
went
was you.
down to the office to make copies, you get a
We.
lot of pleasure
That's a.
from making other people happy, okay? You have got to make sure that you know what makes you happy.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know you were gonna go back to the board with the teacher leaving. Do you
To use your
still do
point, to use your point,
do teachers
in
still
that
leave kids
movie
in
with
charge?
Julia Roberts, she had to sit down. The one of the like motifs in the movie was that whenever she would date somebody, she would eat whatever eggs they like.
Yeah.
So like she'd be like, "Oh," he's like, "Well, what kind of eggs you like?" "Oh, scrambled, poached." And so she went through when she was finding herself and tasted every different preparation of eggs and realized she didn't like none. It was like
Yeah.
one type of egg that she actually liked, but she had been eating all these eggs that she hated for years. Some of y'all eating the wrong eggs.
Some of y'all are doing some stuff every single day that you despise and you wonder why you got a headache.
Mm,
Some of y'all wondering why your stomach is always
toxic
upset.
syndrome.
Some of y'all
Mm,
wondering why your stomach always upset. Some of y'all wondering why you just cannot pull it together, that you seem like you are just walking through the mud, drudging every single day. And that is because you are doing things that are set up for somebody else's life and not your own. Because you don't know how to live. Now, if you're
but
gonna
we're gonna
live,
teach you.
we're gonna teach you. But if you're gonna live, you gotta pay attention. Like Calvin gave this great thing here, and she's talking about being out of alignment. Like I want you to think for a second for when you're driving a car. If your car is out of alignment, if your car is out of alignment, it's pulling in a direction you don't want it to go in. It makes it harder for you to drive. You don't feel as secure when you hit the brakes, right? You're all over the road. Okay. Don't go at a high speed with your car out of alignment. Now, I want you to think about, well, I'm going to wash my car with it out of alignment. I'm going to have my car detailed with it out of alignment. My car is shiny, it is fresh, it smells good, and it's out of alignment, which means you still don't like driving your car. That car is still not doing what it's supposed to do. It is still not serving you in the way it's supposed to serve. And so when you are out of alignment, your life cannot do what it's supposed to do. Like
Period.
when Kathleen talked about there's no other person who's called to do what we are doing, it's because, here's the thing, it's not because nobody else has a podcast or a good podcast. It's not because nobody else has a message or a good message. It's just because they can't share my message the way I can share my message. And they
Period.
can't share her message the way she can share her message. And there's only certain people that our messages are going to respond or resonate with.
Right.
So sure, there are a lot of things you could do, but that doesn't mean that it's your assignment. And so the only way you can really line up, be in alignment with your assignment, is that you have to be aware and you have to decide that you're going to go ahead and do it. You're going to have to make a decision about how you want to live. Do you want to enjoy your life or do you not? And really, we want to go higher than enjoyment. We want to go
Right.
to loving your life. And loving your life does not mean that every day is perfect. Loving your life means that it is overwhelmingly satisfying your soul.
Right.
Overwhelmingly.
And here's the thing, and I'm gonna toss this back to you in a second because I want to make this point. When we're talking about loving your life and living your values, right? Becoming a loving lifer so that you're learning how to live.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to think that this means you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It might just mean how you shift how you're doing things. And you did this weekend
Sure did.
because we had over the past 2 weeks, so we had multiple family members graduating this year. So we had travel for graduation, open houses, parties, all these different things. And we had family coming into town. Now, something you should probably know about Elizabeth. Her house has been the house in the family for years. We live in the same area, but I've moved to different houses. Sometimes I had a smaller house, sometimes I had a big house. Her house has been the same house in the family for like 20 years. So in this house, like everybody has slept on the floor, everybody has slept on the couch. We have made 2 dozen scrambled eggs, Thanksgiving, all these different things. Her house has kind of been that what we like country folks call home house, right? For the family in this area. But in this season of life, as she has learned to live, and as they love you to life her, she's
Right.
making different choices
Yeah.
that are in alignment and focused on her values. But that doesn't mean she has to stop loving the people in her life. She just does it in a way that she can love them and herself too. And so this weekend, she did something differently than she would have done it 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So tell me what you did.
Well, first of all, it's really important to me that my family feels loved and supported
Right.
by me. Like I really,
Right.
that's a part of my value system, so that's important to me.
Right.
But like I told you earlier, I have this history of overgiving and doing too much. And so now that I'm aware of that, I really check in with myself every time there's one of these big family events and say like, what will help me to enjoy this moment as much as I want other family members to enjoy this moment? Because my enjoyment is also important. When before
Absolutely.
it really wasn't that big of a deal. Like it was just more important to me that they have a good time. But now it's important to me that I have a good time. And one of the things that will help me have a good time is to not be overtired.
Mm.
It is to not have headaches and backaches and my feet be swole because I have been doing nothing but cleaning and serving and cooking and washing or whatever else the whole time they're in town. So we had three relatives coming, two from Tennessee and one from Atlanta, and they were going to come in on Friday. So, old school is, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't call it old school, but
No,
I'm
it's
going to
old
call it
school.
old school.
It's old school.
Old school is you go and pick your family up from the airport. Okay, so is that a bad thing? No, maybe that's the way you do want to show your love language, but that's not the way I wanted to show it. So I sent my family a driver. I
Mm.
have a driver that lives around the corner. It's not an Uber. He's a private person that I have called for drives before. He can take you out of town or he can take you to the airport, whatever. And so I made arrangements with him to pick my family up. And I appreciate it. It was something I was willing to pay for. I don't work so that I don't have can't do anything with it. Like I decided, like, hey, I'm willing to pay for that. So I asked my friend around the corner, the driver, to pick them up. And he did. He picked them up from the airport. They loved it. They felt special. They felt loved. And I didn't have to stop what I was doing, make my whole schedule to go and pick them up, that kind of thing. I was able to be right, ready, and alert and ready to go when they arrived where we were meeting up. The other thing I did is I didn't really do a bunch of cooking. I had food catered in. I brought food and had it here at the house that I did not have to cook. And so I think my cousin, there was one time I heard a win that my cousin wanted some french fries. So I did make him some french fries. But outside of that, I wasn't doing all that cooking because let me tell you something. I have hosted so many Thanksgivings where my back is hurting, my body is sore the next 2 or 3 days because I'm cooking from 4 o'clock in the morning to whenever else, refusing to sit down, out coming back behind you, wiping down tables. I mean, all the things. And I would look back over those experiences and realize I didn't enjoy my family.
Really.
I couldn't sit down with them. I was running around. I didn't want to play the games. There was too many things for me to do because I'm the hostess with the mostest. Well, I have redefined what hostess
Oh,
with the mostest means to me. And you can borrow this if you like. You can make your own little hostess with the mostest way that you want to go. But that's the thing that I wanted to do. So I did not cook one meal for my family. That was one thing I didn't do. I did not pick up folks from the airport. I paid for them to get from the airport and back to the airport. Also didn't house anybody at my house.
say that. Say that.
Nobody slept at my house. Air mattresses are forbidden up in this space. Like we're not doing air mattresses and couches and pillows and blankets. We're not doing it. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. So those three relatives, they had already planned on staying in a hotel, which is fine. But I had another relative that was also coming in town from somewhere else. And you know what I said? I said, you know what? I have a free my Marriott credit card. I got a free room for you. I got points. I got a free night. You get that those perks with that card. And so I was like, let me go over. And so I went over and got her the room at the Marriott. And she was so excited to be at the hotel without her kids and stretch out on her king size bed and sleep in to when she wanted to with nobody asking her questions. And so I paid for her. I mean, I provided that points for her to go to the hotel. And so years ago, there would have been people in my house all day and all night. I would have been cooking every single meal, cleaning up behind everybody all day, all night, trying to stop what I'm doing and go pick up somebody from the airport, take this person here, take this person there. No, I did not do it at all. Let me tell you the beautiful text message that I got from one of my relatives about how much fun she had this weekend. And one of the things that I did, I had a couple experiences for them set up, like a couple tours of some great places that they could go and see and things they could do. And I was able to be fully present,
Yes.
alert, not tired, not overwhelmed, not running, sweating out my hair and makeup. I was able to show up, laugh and kiki with them, have fun with them, and be fully present because I had already decided that my enjoyment of the weekend was just as important as theirs. And
Yes.
so, hey, you might be saying, well, Liz, I can't really afford to do those things. Do it to the best of your ability based upon your economics.
Absolutely.
And maybe you can't pick three of those things, all three of those things, but maybe you can pick one. But make
Right.
sure that moving forward, you're planning in your enjoyment too. Now, if you're a person who loves to drive, pick your family up. If you're a person who loves to cook, well, go ahead and cook. You
Right.
don't have to do what I'm doing, but I'm telling you that the belief system that I had, that Southern idea of what it looks like when family comes to town. I
Hmm.
wanted to do a part of that. I wanted to communicate my heart for the people that I love, but that did not mean that I had to be working in the way that I had previously worked to communicate that. And I felt so, I mean, like Sunday after they left and they were like, didn't even want to leave because they had such a great weekend. I just sat on the deck. I sat on the deck with my dog and drank some lemonade and let the wind blow. And I was not tired. I didn't have a headache. My feet didn't hurt. I was not resentful about the fact that the weekend was over and I didn't get to experience it, or I was overwhelmed or too tired or whatever. None of that happened. I was able to be fully present and love the moment. And that is not something I would have done 5 years ago.
Right.
And
And
the
the
other thing
and the and the way that it happened is you really did go through the steps.
I
Like
did.
she really did. She learned what exactly mattered to her. It was important to her that her families felt love, that she was able to um take a shower when she wanted to, go to the bathroom. And it's important, like, we both introverts. So like giving up your home when you are introvert is a lot. So like she was really clear about what mattered to her and how she wanted to do it. She intended to choose herself, and in every single opportunity where there was a choice to be made, she chose herself. So many times we get mad at other people for not choosing us, but we haven't chosen ourselves. So she set the intention of like, nope, I'm going to choose myself every time I have an opportunity to do so. And then she focused on the values that she had so that she was feeling good about the things that she was doing, but she also embraced the process. And that's the E in our acronym is like she embraced the process of like, this might look differently. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like or how it's going to be like. If this is the case, then I'm going to do this. If this is the case, I'm going to do that. Like, embrace the fact that this is a work in progress. It may not look perfectly. Your version of this, like she said, might be a little bit different. Maybe you don't have that extra money in the budget. So, but you don't have to make a 10-course meal. Maybe you just make it a meat, a potato, and a side. You know what I'm saying? Like, do it to the way that it works for you, but
Right.
embrace that I'm on this journey. And I don't, what we sometimes will do is, I want to pause my journey to make y'all happy, and we never get back on the road. Is y'all hearing me? Like sometimes what we'll do is be like, I'll get back on my journey when the kids' schedule settle down. They
Oh,
never settle
they
down.
schedule never settles down ever.
I'll get back on my journey when I'm not trying to go for this promotion. I'll get back on my journey when we get through this rocky sales season. And you never put yourself back on the list. So embrace the fact that this is a process, and there'll be ebbs and flows in the process. Sometimes you'll be doing more, you'll be making more progress. Other times you'll be making less progress. But be intentional about embracing that this is a process. This is a something you're working on an ongoing basis. It's not something that you have to start or stop. It's not a diet you start on Monday. This is a lifestyle of learning to love your life.
And so here's how, this is one other thing I want to include here. One of the things that is also happening is that I'm doing that with my daughter. So
Mm.
I'm trying to, she's 8 months old today. She's 8 months old today.
It is today.
She's 8 months
Time to
old
take a
today.
picture.
I know, I got to get her pictures done. Okay, so she's 8 months old today. And I've said this before that when I found out I was having a girl, I was really just like beside myself because I knew the pressure that is on Black women in this country, and I knew how
Yeah.
I had felt so long about pleasing others and about achieving and about performance and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, Lord, why a baby girl? What am I gonna do? I mean, like, but he comforted me. The Holy Spirit comforted me because he was like, you know what to do. You've done the work and you're continuing to do the work. So just teach her from where you are now. And so
Right.
one of the things that happened when we were at the open house this weekend was I knew my daughter was tired because she's 8 months old. She's so cute, and everybody want to see her and love on her and pass her around. But it's noisy, it's warm, it's a lot of new faces, it's all the things. And when I felt like she was tired, I put my baby in her stroller and we went for a walk outside. And
Yeah.
that's probably not something I would have done. And it's probably not even something that many of us in the community would have thought about because we would have been like, well, everybody want to see her though. But
Right.
everybody want to hold her though. But everybody just want to love on her though. But what will they think if you step out of the party? But I got all the questions. I could give you questions that people might ask or things that might come up for folks as to why they wouldn't do that. But it was important to me that she be taken care of in a different way. Like we need to
Yeah.
help her reset her nervous system. She's taking in a lot of stimuli, and she's not obligated to make y'all feel good. She's not obligated to please y'all. She's not obligated to put a smile on y'all's faces. You
Right.
know, I appreciate your love and support of her, but part of your love and support of her means that she needs a break. And so we went, the wind blowed, and it was nice outside, and we just peacefully walked, and she just reset. And I thought for sure she's gonna go to sleep, but when we came back, she was ready to go again because we had that pause, because we were
Right.
able to pause. And so, it starts, especially with our girls and maybe our boys too. I don't know. I have to talk to more men about it, but it starts earlier. It starts
Hmm.
younger. And so I'm doing that for her right now before she's even a year
Right.
old to teach her how she can take care of herself. I'm going to do those interventions for her until
Right.
she can do them herself. And that is not something I would have done before. It would have been like, oh, she'll be okay. Oh, she'll be fine. Oh, whatever. No. She needs a break and she gonna get a break. And I'm gonna give her a break.
I think the other point is we're upgrading everybody's experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about all the families that are in conflict and in turmoil because somebody says something to somebody else or somebody rubs somebody the wrong way, a lot of times those things happen because we haven't been intentional with taking care of ourselves, and then we got two raw people smack dab into each other. Whereas if everybody is made like my number one priority is taking care of myself. And so we are two whole people making choices to be in relationship with each other. That makes for a different, like a whole different scenario in the family. And I think when we talk about like when we think about, our family, like legacies and things like that, a lot of times we think about financial, which is great, but I want to see some relationships healed. I want to see these relationships where people can really say, like, I have a good relationship with my sibling or a good relationship with my spouse or a good relationship with my parent because they love themselves and they love me too. And I understand that. And so I think that is part of this process is as we're learning how to live, we sometimes are teaching other people how to live too.
Right. And I think part of that too is that many times we're going to look at the conflicts or the underlying issues in families and we're going to see that someone thought or felt, I guess I'm going to say, thought their needs weren't met or felt unheard. But in many times we have not communicated our needs to the people so that they can
Yeah.
meet us there. We have this expectation that they should know, but they're different from us, and so maybe they don't know. And also when you tell them, then we remove any kind of question. We remove any
Right.
ambivalence about it. We're no longer confused. We know because I told you, right?
Right.
But sometimes people haven't done something or have done something because they really don't know, and we haven't even told them, and we mad.
Mhm.
And resentment, that is a big one. If you are finding yourself as a person who really has a lot of relationships and where you're feeling resentful, or you have
Mhm.
experiences in which afterwards you feel resentful, I'm going to tell you, look in the mirror. I'm going to ask you to start with yourself and ask yourself, did you have a healthy boundary? Did you communicate clearly? Did you stop when you wanted to stop? Did you even know where you wanted to stop, where you
Right.
wanted to go? Because usually that's where it is. That's
Right.
usually where that scale starts to tip.
I did that last summer with the girls because, I have teenagers and it's kind of a running joke in my household because I've for a big chunk of their lives I've been an entrepreneur and I've worked from home. So they'll kind of joke. They were like, "Oh, mom, you don't have a job." And I'm like, who's paying for this house? Like, who's paying for this car?" But that's just kind of like this running joke. But they both ended up getting these little part-time jobs, and I was like, "I'm a full-time freaking Uber driver, just getting y'all back and forth to these different places." But then I had to realize I never set the expectation of what they could do. They said they wanted to apply for a job. I didn't tell them, well, this is when you were available. I didn't set their availability. I just said to do whatever. And then next thing I know, I'm like, I'm spending 2 or 3 hours in my car every day, just like running back and forth here and there. And I'm like, I hate it. First of all, I don't
You don't like
let alone 2 or 3 hours a day. But I couldn't be mad at them because I hadn't given them anything, any boundaries or what have you. Then when as we go into the fall, I'm like, okay, listen, now that we're going back and forth to school, unless the job is really paying the bills, I'm gonna need you to tune it up because I'm not gonna be spending all day running back and forth and all night running back and forth. And you make the adjustment. The people in your life who love you,
mm-hmm.
they'll adjust. They'll
Right.
they'll 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 accommodate. They'll figure that out. But the onus is really on you. And then our final point as a love you to lifer, right, who is learning how to live, is the R. And this is the R. We really probably have to do a whole episode on this, to be honest, because the R is the rest and reflect. And I need you to understand why that's so important as you're learning how to live. Rest is not something that you have to earn. Rest is not something that you only get on Mother's Day or Father's Day. Rest is a biological process that is necessary for your survival. Every single thing that is alive has a rhythm of rest that's necessary. The trees around us, the grass, like everything has a rhythm where it needs to rest. And so it's not cute that you're getting up early and staying up late. It's not cute. You're not being a better mom because you're working yourself into the ground.
Ooh.
You're not a better employee because you come in early and you stay late. And then you take your work home when you go. So rest is not a reward. It is a requirement and it is an essential part of loving your life. So you have to have a rhythm where rest is a natural part of that process. And if that's something you're not really doing in your life right now, I want to encourage you to try it, but also to know it feels weird. Okay, I'm just going to put this out there. If you have not cultivated a lifestyle that includes rest, chances are the first time you sit down, you might think you're forgetting something,
Mm,
or you might look for something, some reason or some way to be productive.
mm.
But rest is productive because it's allowing your body, your mind to have an opportunity to recharge. And when you create that room to just breathe and have that reset, like you gave to the baby, you get to kind of reimagine what's possible. Sometimes in those moments of quiet, you get those glimpses of a vision of what your life could be. You start to get ideas about what you want in the future. If you give yourself that room to rest and to reflect, it's not a waste of time. It is a part of loving your life. If you have a life that doesn't include rest, I promise you, your life will make you rest one way or the other.
Oh no, and you don't want the other. You don't want life to make you rest. And here's one other one I wanted to add. You were saying that you're not I don't know how you said it, but like you're not a better person because you're working late. I also want to say you are not a better person because you're the first call from mama and papa. You're not a better person because you loan all your cousins money. You're not a better person because anytime something goes wrong, people are calling you. That does not make you worthy or valuable or more important. That is not it at all. So some of us are still, and we probably got to talk about this. We probably got to make an episode about this. It's like the payoff
Mm,
of living this way until we become aware that we're doing it, because everything has a payoff even when we don't know it. So initially some people are doing this and not really enjoying their life because of the validation that they get from other people, the
right.
amen corner and the praise they get from other folks for doing it that way. And so that feeds you in a minuscule, in a small way, but the price that you're paying for that is just way too high usually.
Right.
Well, we probably got to do a podcast episode on that. On,
Man, we just have so many things we've got to
I
cover, ladies. We just
know.
got so many things we got to cover. But
No,
I think we covered a lot today.
we
I
did.
think we covered. I think we gave you a really good introduction into
Yeah.
what the Love You to Life podcast is all about how you can learn how to live, about how your learning how to live allows others and encourages others to do the same, about how it can improve your relationships, about how it's a process, um, and an undertaking that has value and has meaning. And we want to encourage you to not just turn this podcast off. We would love it for you to share because sharing is
Share it.
absolutely caring, right? But we also want you to take a moment and think about, where is one area in my life where I know I'm not living?
Mm-hmm.
Where is one area of my life where I say, like, you know what, this area needs a little attention. This area needs a little bit extra. This area, every time I think about that, my neck tenses up and I get unsettled. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to really think about what is an area of your life where you would say, this is the first place I want to really work. Now, here's what I want you to do when you think about that. I want you to put a comment under this podcast, or I want you to connect with us on either LinkedIn or IG and let us know what that area is, because we might use what you talk about for another episode, because we want the Love You to Life podcast to be something that meets you where you are and helps to meet a need. So, we will be here every couple weeks, like every other week, to drop an episode. But you can stay connected with us where we'll be a little bit more active on IG and LinkedIn. Uh, Um, Feel free to tag us or share, and let other people know what we have to offer, because we want to make sure that everybody is learning how to live. And that's the important part of being here at the Love You to Life podcast. So thank you so, so much for joining us for episode 1. We will be back with another great episode for you. And as always, we want you to love your life. And we'll see you guys soon.
See you guys later.